I am Scott Kaplan. I'm originally from Alamo, California, which is the Bay Area, California, but obviously I've lived all over. I now currently live in Springfield, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. I joined the U.S. Navy in 1999 to officer candidate school in Pensacola, and I left active duty in December of 2003 and then was in the reserves for another 5 years, and then I left after 10 years.
At what point did you get this interest in military?
Well, I wanted to join the Navy when I was 10. I watched the movie The Final Countdown, which is where the Nimitz goes back through the time storm to December 6, 1941. Saw the F-14, said, I want to fly them because I really had wanted to be a pilot since I was 3. And I was like, I'd love to fly in an F-14. But I wore contact lenses. So I never actually, after that point, really thought about joining the military because I couldn't be a fighter pilot because I wanted to be a fighter pilot. So I was going down more the civilian pilot route.
How'd you get back interested in military?
Okay, so I went to college actually to be a pilot. And so I ended up going to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Prescott, Arizona. But when I went to college to be a pilot, during my first and really into my second year of college, I made a shift. Like I wanted to be a pilot, but I learned about aircraft accident investigation. And I was watching a video at kind of like a club fair. And there was an organization called the International Society of Air Safety Investigators, ISASI, which the teacher, who was one of the safety teachers, was showing plane crash videos. And it piqued my interest, like everybody else who likes to, watch, crashes and things like that. And he asked me what happened. And I was like, well, this. He's like, are you sure? And it just kind of piqued that kind of investigative mindset of like, huh. And so from there, I started a double path, really, of becoming a pilot and wanting to become an aircraft accident investigator. And in my junior year, between my junior and senior year, I ended up as an intern at the National Transportation Safety Board in Washington, D.C. So that was my first move. Then after graduation, when I was looking for jobs, I ended up working at United Airlines in their flight safety department in Chicago, Illinois. Second move. And then I'd always end up coming back to California. And I started going to conferences for ISASI, which was pretty much all the leading aircraft accident investigators in the world would have a meeting once a year somewhere in the world. And I went to my very first one in New Zealand, in Auckland, New Zealand, and I showed up as a young whippersnapper saying, hi, here's my resume. Can you all hire me to be an accident investigator? And they said, you don't have enough investigative experience. And every year it was the same thing. I got a couple interviews out of it, but it was, you don't have enough investigative experience. They kept saying like, you need to go into the airlines or into the military or something in that path to gain that experience. I said, okay. So went back home. And then I got a call from a family friend who was a senior in the Bureau of Land Management who asked me if I wanted to be on a hotshot crew fighting forest fires for a summer. And so I actually ended up fighting forest fires for a summer on the hotshot crew based in Jackson, Mississippi. So there's the next move. Then I went back home. I went back to my old Boy Scout troop to be an adult leader. One dad in the troop was a Navy captain and one was a rear admiral. And the one that was a captain was like, you ever think about joining the Navy? I was like, yes, but I want to be a fighter pilot. He's like, well, what about being a Rio? I was like, I could sit in the back of an F-14. That'd still be cool. So I started the process actually of joining the Navy. A long story, it took over a year for me to finally have them say, you know what, we're just going to send you to Pensacola before I actually joined and go through the naval flight exam and see if I could pass it. I passed the medical and I said, okay. And so in April of 1999, I was offered the possibility of becoming a naval flight officer in the Navy. And I went down to Pensacola and I started officer candidate school.